Welcome to the Pediatric Playbook, where we guide growth in children and balance in ourselves. I'm Amanda, a pediatric occupational therapist, here to share stories, strategies, and insights to support parents, therapists, teachers, and caregivers as we navigate the ever-evolving world of child development together. From tackling potty training and sensory needs to celebrating milestones, this podcast is your go-to resource for practical advice, inspiring stories, and honest conversations. Each week, we'll explore topics that matter to you, whether you're a parent looking for answers or a pediatric OT, SLP, PT, or educator searching for fresh perspectives. I'll also sit down with other therapists and professionals to dive into their unique journeys and the lessons they've learned along the way. So grab your coffee, settle in, and let's dive into this journey together. Whether you're here for personal growth, professional insights, or a little bit of both, I am so glad you're here. Hi everyone, welcome back to the Pediatric Playbook, where we explore all things child development, parenting, and the stories that connect us. I'm Amanda, and I am so excited about today's episode. We have a fantastic guest with us today, Carly Costello. She is a licensed independent clinical social worker and a certified EMDR therapist who owns her own practice in West Virginia called the Counseling Nook, where she works with individuals to heal from trauma and improve their mental health. But beyond her professional expertise, Carly is also navigating the wonderful and challenging journey of parenting her one-year-old daughter. In today's episode, we are going to hear all about her personal experiences as a new mom and therapist, as well as dive into what EMDR therapy really is and how it can transform lives. Whether you're a parent, a therapist, or just curious about mental health and healing in general, this episode is going to be packed with insights. Let's get started. Carly, I am so excited to chat with you today.
Me too.
Let's start by talking about your role as a mom. I know you're raising the cutest little one-year-old while
Yes.
also working pretty full-time as a therapist. What has postpartum life been like for you?
Well, it's been crazy. So a little backstory. Last year, well, when I was pregnant, originally when I went out on my own in private practice, I thought I would be solo, but it very quickly I hired someone, a friend that I went to school with. So it like turned into a group practice. I got married last year. Of course, I was pregnant and had the baby, and I bought my office. So I did like very big things very quickly. So postpartum has been a whirlwind this first year,
That
to say
is,
the least.
I mean, crazy that you were able to do all of that while you were pregnant, while trying to plan getting married, hiring people on. Like, those are things that just blow my mind. I can't even like process doing that when I'm not pregnant and not married.
Yeah, it was a lot. It really
And
was.
so, do you feel like there was a huge change going from just being like independent and essentially single to being a mom and now having to navigate owning a practice as well?
Yes, and the growth of like being a group practice was also like hard to navigate, but yeah, it's been some things have been hard about being a mom, just like losing some of my freedom.
For sure. And do you feel like you are doing like the parenting style and things that before being or before being a mom you thought you were going to be like? Do you feel like you're staying true to some of that, or you feel like you've altered a little bit on that?
Well, maybe I think about things a lot more now, like with attachment styles. I'm like, how can I make sure that I am parenting her in a way that she has a secure attachment when she gets older?
That was something that I had written down to chat about later, but let's just kind of like dive into that right now. Do you feel like parenting is really affected by your attachment styles? Like, how do those attachment styles affect the child and yourself as a parent? And can you even change those? I know like
Yeah,
attachment styles are a big thing in the world.
yeah, attachment styles can change. It can change in relationships. Like I may have an anxious attachment with my husband, but a very secure attachment with my child. And if my attachment style with my husband is anxious at start, like we can work on that and it could change to be more secure later on.
Okay, that makes so much sense. I've always, kind of felt like that. And I feel like I had kind of a chaotic childhood and upbringing. So I feel like I was always kind of leaning towards like anxious avoidant, like through some of my own work. And now I'm starting to like just become more, secure in general in all of my relationships. But it really does take work. And I
Yeah.
like,
I don't know if you've heard of the Enneagram, which is like a personality test of personality styles. They say that you stay the same throughout your life, but attachment styles, you shift and grow.
those Enneagrams are like the super long quizzes that give you like a
But
million questions.
yeah, like there's like the Myers-Briggs, which is like ENFP, INFJ,
Okay.
but the Enneagram is the 1 through 9, like the different numbers.
Okay. I think I had to do this when I was in graduate school. We were like kind of learning about ourselves. This is in one of our mental health classes, and I have not done it in years. So I need to go back in and like actually do it and write it down and see kind of what my personality type is. Do you often have families and parents that come to you that are struggling with those attachment styles? And if you do, is it something that you find takes a lot more work once you become a parent? Like, is this something that we should be working on before becoming a parent or something that's kind of easy to do either way?
Well, of course, I think we should work on it before becoming a parent. I
True.
think everyone should go to therapy and start working on it immediately if you haven't already.
True. Parents, listen up, and girlies and men
Yeah,
out there that are hoping to get married and go into parenthood in the future, any therapists out there, listen up, get into therapy.
I mostly see women now, not as many kids,
Yeah.
but, and it always goes back to childhood.
It really does. And I mean, is there anything that you've learned as a parent now that has shifted how you approach your work as a therapist?
I not really, I don't think. In the way that I do therapy, like that hasn't changed. Like that's been consistent, like pre being a mom and post being a mom.
Yeah.
Um, maybe it has helped me like truly understand postpartum.
Yeah. And so what strategies, like what parenting strategies as a therapist are you feel like you're implementing in your daughter's day-to-day life? I know she's like starting to talk a little bit more now and she's getting more interactive and engaged, and you're starting to see her personality come out a little bit more. So is there anything that you guys try to incorporate in your day-to-day lives that you feel like is really helping her build such a good, secure attachment with you guys?
Well, she hasn't cried it out or anything, which I don't know. There's all sorts of opinions, but so I'm been very like in tune with her emotions, or if she's crying, like I'm comforting her. I'm not letting her just like cry alone.
Mm-hmm. And I love, I hear what do they call like they call us like snowflakes or something like
Yeah,
nowadays they have
oh
all the
yeah,
words. They have all the words now for our like generation of parents that are coming through, but it's really true. I can even remember soul like memories of like crying as a child, and this is like no shade to my parents. They were doing the best that they had access to at the time, but like I definitely even have memories of being a toddler and remember crying and feeling like alone in my room or in timeout, and just like accessing that now as an adult. Like if I am upset about something and someone is avoiding me or doesn't want to talk to me, like I feel in like full blown distress, like
panic.
even as an adult panic, like
Yeah,
are they not going to talk to me? Like I need help. And so
yeah,
I just like I feel like the way you're doing it and the way a lot of our generation is doing it just has to be a better way. I think these kids are still going to be just fine, but
I sure hope so.
they're going to be even better at emotionally regulating and
Yeah,
understanding like it's okay to have these emotions. Like when I fall and bump my head, like I want somebody to hug me. Like that hurt.
yeah, yeah.
And it's
Um,
impossible. I mean, I've seen pictures of your daughter. I hope to meet her in person like as soon as possible.
She's so precious.
She is so just cute. Like, she's just such an innocent, cute, like babies are so pure and adorable. And
Yes.
it's just
Yes.
so important to foster that relationship with them from all aspects.
Yeah. I did do a few things to like prepare myself for postpartum life.
Yeah.
Like,
Tell us about them.
I mean, when I was pregnant, I just straight up talked to my doctor, like, I am worried about postpartum anxiety, depression, OCD. Like, I am like, what medicines can I take if I breastfeed? Like, what medicines am I allowed to take while breastfeeding?
Yeah.
Because like, I am not naive to it could be rough.
For sure. Was it something, if you're comfortable to share, was that something that you ended up struggling with, or do you feel like you got ahead of it and didn't end
Oh,
up struggling?
I know I definitely struggled with it. I truly don't know if any woman doesn't. Like, it is a massive life change. Your body goes through this big trauma. I mean,
Yeah.
hormone change. So yeah, I really struggled with anxiety, postpartum anxiety, and some intrusive thoughts, which I feel like we're talking about it more, like that postpartum OCD can be a thing.
Yeah.
And even postpartum psychosis,
Hmm.
which I talked to my husband more, and I was like, you need to like pay attention to signs, like,
Yeah.
because if that would happen to me, I'm not gonna know.
Yeah.
So I
Can
need
you
you to know.
share can you share some of those signs? This is something that I've never really heard about or know the signs of either, and I'd love for, all of our
Postpartum
listeners to be aware.
psychosis.
Yeah, just to be aware.
I mean, I think the big signs would be like any like delusional thinking or talking, but like, as a new mom, you're not getting sleep.
Hmm.
So for some people, like not sleeping for 3 days in a row, it could trigger postpartum psychosis in you.
Yeah. And what should, if you have a friend, a parent, a partner, if they start to notice these things, what should they be doing?
Well, the serious one, call 911
Yeah.
immediately for the
Wow.
postpartum psychosis. But um, for like the more mild, like the anxiety, the depression,
Yeah.
I mean, just supporting your partner as best as you can. And if you are open to medicine, like definitely talking to your doctor about medicine. And medicine can be a temporary thing.
Yeah. I was just gonna say, I think so many people get so afraid of medicine and being on it, like they're gonna have to be on it
Yeah.
forever, but especially getting through that first year or two after having your child, just for some
Oh,
support.
my doctor asked me in the hospital before I was discharged, do you want to start Prozac? And I was like, yes, I think now's a good time. So,
Right now.
yeah, right now, can you give me one right now? And then send me home with a bottle? Because that'd be great. So,
That
and
is,
that's what I did.
yeah. And it's comforting to hear that, coming from a therapist, that nobody is kind of safe from these things, even if you
No,
have all of the tools and all of the right things to do for yourself and
no.
your child.
And there's no shame in
Yeah.
taking medicine. There's no shame in talking about it. There's no shame in anything.
Yeah. Wow. Well, thank you so much for opening up about your own personal experience with that. I know so many parents listening to this are going to feel so relieved and, ready to go get help if they're needing it. And I just wanted to shift gears a little bit now and talk a little bit more about your work now with EMDR. So, you're an
Yes.
EMDR therapist, which is such a fascinating area of mental health. But for those who may not be familiar with what it is, what it stands for, who could benefit, like, can you dive into EMDR for us a little bit?
Yes. So EMDR, it stands for eye movement desensitization and reprocessing.
Wow.
Big fancy word. It's a type of therapy that it uses eye movements. So literally your eyes going back and forth, or other like bilateral back and forth stimulation. So it can be audio, like noise back and forth in your ears. It can be tapping on your own body, or therapists can have these buzzers that you hold in your hands and they buzz back and forth. Those are like the most common ways that people do the bilateral stimulation, but it's mostly good for trauma. So it was originally like created for PTSD,
Wow.
but it can help like much more than just PTSD. And
Yeah,
I mean, trauma, as we know now, there's like the big T traumas and there's the little t traumas. So, you don't have to have this like huge traumatic life event to have experienced trauma that you could benefit from EMDR.
for sure. I feel like I always explain this to parents too, even, from an occupational therapy standpoint, when their kids are afraid of sitting on the toilet or they're afraid of going to the bathroom and
Yeah.
those things. I'm like, it might not seem like they had a traumatic experience to you, but they did have one really bad, painful poop last year, or
Yes.
they
Yeah.
went through diarrhea after being sick for a whole week, and now they're associating that negative
Yeah.
experience with that, and that's trauma in and of itself.
Yeah, and the really cool thing that EMDR, you can do it with kids and it can be so powerful. The
Really?
Yeah, the other therapist that works with me, she's a play therapist and she's trained in EMDR. So she only works with kids, and she's done some like really powerful work with kids
Oh
using
my gosh.
EMDR.
Is that typically accessible in other states, or is this something that's kind of
Yes.
unique and up and coming?
It's more common now, and
Yeah.
there's a website, EMDRIA, so
Hmm.
EMDRIA.com.
Okay.
You can find therapists there that are like certified and trained in it.
Wow. And so, I mean, one, that's amazing to know. I feel like I already have like a list of kiddos that I work with that I'm ready to
Yeah,
send referral
and
in for.
I just want to say this before I forget. The other cool thing with EMDR, you don't actually have to like verbalize the trauma or the incident, or you don't even have to know. Sometimes a lot of adults, it's a common thing to think like, I feel like something bad happened to me, but I don't really know.
Yeah.
We can work with that in EMDR. Like, you don't
Wow.
have to know, or you don't have to remember a specific event.
That's amazing. Is it something that people can also do virtually?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
You can do it virtually. There's like an app where you can like watch a ball on the screen, like your therapist can control when it goes back and forth and the speed of it. Or again, you can do the tapping on yourself.
Wow. So are you like kind of thinking through like memories while you're doing it? Are you just tapping randomly? Like, can you walk us through a little bit of maybe like a fake scenario?
So it's more structured than just talk therapy.
Okay.
You either, a lot of times you either start with an incident that's disturbing, so like a specific memory, or maybe a negative belief, like I'm not good enough, I'm not
Mhm.
okay, I'm not worthy of love, something like that is
Yeah.
usually a starting point. And then there's two different like data points. One, how disturbing this is, like when you think about that event and that
Mhm.
negative belief, I'm not good enough, how disturbing is it? 0, not at all, 10 the most.
Yeah.
And then the other data point is, what are we striving for? Like, we want you to feel like I'm good enough as I am. And then, so how true does that feel? 1, totally false. 7, that is totally true. So,
Wow.
yeah. So, of course, by the end of the EMDR session, we want that disturbance level to be at a 0. That's not disturbing at all. And we want that like positive belief to be totally true.
Wow. I like want to get into EMDR right now. I like personally see a therapist once or twice a month right now just to kind of keep up with things as like the
Yeah.
stresses of life. But I'm like thinking in the back of my head, like I might need to add an EMDR specialist on there with my other therapist as well, just to get some of those things
Why
out,
not?
that those
Yeah.
negative belief systems that I think everybody holds somewhere inside them, unless you've been out there doing the work. All of us hold that somewhere inside of us, whether we are suppressing it or not, at least in my opinion.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so, and I just love that this EMDR has such a wide reach. I did not realize that children could benefit from this. So this is amazing.
Yes.
Do you feel like this is something that people might often hesitate to try because it's not
Absolutely.
typical
Yes.
therapy?
Yeah. It sounds hokey pokey, or they're like, oh, I don't need that, or like my kid doesn't need that. Like they don't
Yeah,
have PTSD, like
yeah,
we just need them to sleep in their own bed.
exactly. What do you feel like are some of like the biggest like myths that you can bust with this EMDR that you commonly see pop up or people are
People
often running
probably
to?
think because of the eye movements back and forth, like it's like hypnosis.
Yes, I've heard
And so
that.
if they have like these ideas about hypnosis, then they're gonna automatically be like, yeah, that's weird.
It's
But it's
not.
not like that.
No, I honestly, I feel like it's something that when, I don't know, it might have been a conversation that we had like a couple years ago when we first met through, me and Carly actually met through my boyfriend's sister. And we had been talking about it one time, how she does EMDR. And I was like, what is that? And I remember thinking, like, I don't know, I'm gonna have to do my research on that
Yeah,
because
because this sounds a little wonky.
yeah, no one's ever brought it up to me before. Like I've worked
Yeah,
with so many therapists and like none of them are able to like target and get to the bottom of what's going on. And I think so many, kids out there really need something different and outside the norm. Like, yes, like their OT is doing great work and, their speech therapist is doing all the things, but there's still like that missing piece. And I feel like the mental health part of it that we're all trying to address just needs, I always am trying to find good, licensed therapists for these kids to work with because, as an OT, I just feel like we can't do it
yeah,
all and it's not our exact scope.
yeah.
So
Because an EMDR with kids can really help to like regulate their nervous system.
for sure. And, just the play therapy in general. Does your,
Yeah.
what is the lady that works at your company's name?
Stephanie
Does
Majetic.
does Stephanie see kids for just like basic play therapy as well as EMDR?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, we do not have, I swear we do not have enough play therapists in Charleston,
No, we
South
do not.
Carolina.
No, we don't
And
anywhere.
yeah, and they're not, I'll see people be like, oh, I'm a play therapist, but they're really like an early interventionist or somebody that's not actually like a
A
licensed.
registered play therapist.
Yes. And so
Yeah.
if anyone listening is from South Carolina or the Charleston area and you do offer play therapy, please reach out to me because I have tons of families that I know could benefit from working with you. I know, everyone out there. And so do you know a website where people can find just play therapists as
I
well?
actually don't. Maybe the International Play Therapy Association, I think is what
Yeah.
it's called, but
Okay.
I don't know.
I'll do some deep diving
Yeah.
into that to try to find something with that for you guys. Okay, last two little closing reflection questions I have for you. Okay, as both a therapist and a mom, what advice would you give to other parents about navigating those early parenting years?
Ah, this is hard. I think just trust yourself
Hmm.
and your instincts, and we really are doing the best we can.
Yeah, I think that's simple to the point and
Yeah.
perfect because so many times right now, especially with social media,
Oh, it's so
they're
yeah.
like, it makes
It's
you
so
question
hard.
everything.
Yes, it's so hard to like battle the mom guilt and like, am I doing the right thing? And maybe not weaning or what I mean, and then breastfeeding or not, when to stop, co-sleeping, not co-sleeping.
It's it's insane.
We're all doing the best we can.
Yep. And there's so many opinions out there, and there's so many professionals that have their own expertise and scope that have that advice. But I think, a big thing for me is finding somebody, a professional, a healthcare provider that you trust and
Yes.
leaning into them instead of leaning into a Google search all the time because
Yeah.
you really need someone on your team that you trust that knows you and has you in their best interest when they're giving you those types of advice. I feel guilty myself sometimes posting on my own social media like tips and ideas and my idea of what's right or wrong when it comes to potty training. And I get that guilt sometimes of like, oh, like I know there's going to be some parents that this doesn't work for. And so just know that anybody out there posting hopefully has the best interest at heart when they're posting, but not everything is for you. And so if it's
Right.
something that's not resonating with you, unfollow, keep scrolling, yes,
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
not dive too deep into it. It's a lot, the social media. So that was perfect advice. Okay. And the last piece is a piece of advice for yourself. If you could give one piece of advice to your younger self, whether it was just when you first became a parent, a therapist, whatever it may be, what would it be and why would you give yourself that advice?
I would probably tell myself something along the lines of, well, one, it's okay to be sad or like, have like negative feelings. Like, you don't
Yeah.
have to be happy all the time.
Yep. I love that.
And like, you don't have to be happy all the time. And I would tell like the people pleaser part in me, like, you don't like, not everyone has to like you all the time.
Yes, that one resonates with me too. And it's just like,
Yeah.
I feel like I could picture when I always hear it, like I love asking this question because I like take whatever advice people are saying and I picture myself sitting on a couch with my like younger teenage
Yeah.
self and just there's so much I wish I could go back and fill her with of just like happiness, hope, support. But yeah, it's important, I think, as adults to reflect on those things too. So, what an incredible conversation that we have dove into today. A huge thank you to Carly for joining us and sharing her clinical expertise and her personal experiences with parenthood and being a therapist owning her own practice. For everybody that's listening, I hope you guys were able to take away some really great inspiration, whether it's from Carly's parenting journey or just her work in mental health in general. If you're interested in learning more about EMDR or finding a certified practitioner, check out the resources in the show notes. We mentioned emdria.org. And if you're from West Virginia, go check out Carly at the Counseling Nook. If you've enjoyed this episode, it would really mean the whole world to me if you could like, subscribe, and share it with friends, family, or anyone you think might benefit from listening. Your support really does help us reach more people and continue bringing these super valuable conversations like this one. Carly, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. It's great to talk.
Of course. Thank you guys for tuning in to the Pediatric Playbook. See you next time. I hope you enjoyed this week's conversation and found it helpful as you navigate along this journey, whether that's supporting kids, growing as a therapist, or both. If you're looking for more resources, tips, or support, be sure to check out my website linked in the show notes and connect with me on social media at Your Pediatric OT on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, or wherever else you can find me. You'll find everything from free guides to in-depth courses designed to help you make an even bigger impact. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Pediatric Playbook. And if you enjoyed today's episode, please don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a friend or colleague who'd love it too. I can't wait to see you next time, same place, same time, right here on the Pediatric Playbook.